What's happening, everybody? We're back with another episode of Too Much Fantasy Football. It's Brian and Brennen here, and we're talking some rookies today. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing better than Tiger Woods right now.
Not finding yourself flipped over, are you?
Nope, I'm not flipped over.
Yeah. Look, he was the best for so long, and I guess he's trying to be the best in other areas because, man, what a turn we've seen for Tiger Woods.
Yeah, no kidding.
But this is a football podcast, folks. We're getting
This
to football. We're getting to the juicy stuff.
I was on a golf trip in Arizona. I just saw it. It came across my feed, and I was like, I'm fortunate. Because I like Tiger, obviously, so.
And really, that's all the news we have to talk about. Because the only other thing we're going to throw at you is it's just the fun. I love the speculation. My tinfoil hat has not been on yet this offseason, but folks, it's getting built. It's getting ready. I want to talk here Myles Garrett before we get into these rookies. I want to talk about the restructuring of the contract, the way the Browns are the team that are looking for 5 years in advance of picks being able to be dealt with. Obviously, Myles Garrett would not fetch 5 first-round picks, but is this going to be a waiting game of, like, he could be potentially traded after the draft up until week 1? You know, them just trying to load up on picks with their biggest possible asset when they finally can make a move past this Deshaun Watson era in 2027.
I really don't know what it's just like from what Tom Pellisario said, it basically kind of frees up a little bit of money for him to be able to be moved easier, like for them not to be on the books as much. It's like all upfront in money right now. I mean, the Browns are in just such a weird spot. It's like he's arguably the second best defensive player I've ever seen in my lifetime besides Aaron Donald. Like, I think that's
Probably,
him,
yeah.
JJ Watt. Like, I'm trying to think of other guys that are in that stature, but like, it's one of those things where it's like, if you move them, like, you're going to send them to somebody who probably isn't in contention to the playoffs. And it's like those first round picks are going to be late first round picks. So it's like, really, what is the end game of it?
Yeah, I think the best case scenario would be them trading to a team that thinks they're pushing all the chips in to go be elite, and hopefully they waver in a couple of those seasons. Because I mean, I imagine the Max Crosby kind of set the table. They'd be able to get 2 firsts and maybe a little change there for Myles Garrett. Similar age between the two, but just the dominance, the sheer dominance of Myles Garrett. You said one of the 2 best defensive players we've probably ever watched. He is the only player to this day that I've ever seen use a helmet as a weapon. So, like, you got to give a guy kudos for that.
True.
But, you know, it's all speculation here, folks. He could play for the Browns the entire season, but I think it's just opened the door for those possibilities because, yeah, would the Browns love to keep him for the rest of his career? Abso-freaking-lutely. Absolutely. But at the same time, I think kind of the same vein that the Raiders were in. Sometimes, like, you just got to look at your championship window as not with that Hall of Fame style player.
Yeah, I feel like you gave them the bag, like, at some point, like maybe this was like their end game in total of just being like, well, we'll give them a bag and then maybe can make it a little more movable if we're not in the right place where we need to be. I mean, but that's just their own doing from the Deshaun Watson contract. So I don't, honestly, the Cleveland Browns are just such a headache, and I do feel bad for their fans. Like, I just feel bad. Moving out Baker was the dumbest thing ever.
Oh God. I mean, how many playoff games would they have won over the last several years had they kept Baker? Who knows?
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, well, let's get into these prospects. We talked about quarterbacks. We talked about running backs. Let's talk about the wide receivers and tight ends. Before we get into that, though, folks, if you listened to the last episode, we talked about J.J. Zacharyson is hooking us up. We are giving away one of his prospect guides, maybe a couple of them, depending on how many we get reached out here. But whether you're on YouTube, you know, drop a comment, make sure you subscribe. We're posting this over here on the social media, so make sure you go and you're following us over there, and we will be giving out some of his prospect guides to random people that are following and supporting the pod. We appreciate y'all for doing that.
For all those that are new to Dynasty, it's definitely a good read just because it kind of gives you a glimpse of like who he likes. For instance, he was big. I mentioned in the last episode, he was big on Isaiah Pacheco, and it did pan out for the first couple of years. He was, like a late second, and that was really worth the snag. So I do value what JJ has to say about these prospects.
Yeah, Puka Nacua was also a call out for him. It was the first time I believe I saw his name being mentioned or at any point was a notification coming from that. So great stuff, especially the deep. We're only going to go, we did just a handful of these players, more of the ones that are be going on day 1, day 2. But if you want the deep dive, the crazy nerdy vibe, that's the way we go. And that's one of my favorite guys to get every year.
I agree.
Let's go to wide receivers. Let's get to it. This is the meat and potatoes of the draft class this year. Quarterback, meh. Running back, eh. And wide receiver, again, yet it seems like to be the common thing. We got a big three this year and kind of a soft three. Not trying to throw any shade to the guys at 4, 5, and 6, but they are still being talked about. We could have 6 wide receivers go in the first round, is what some of these mock draft people are talking about. So Jordan Tyson, I think we're in consensus. If you take out the injury concerns, this is by far my favorite wide receiver. I think that's the thing that's holding me back a little bit on him. But coming out of Arizona State, 6'2", 203, 21 years old, you like that stuff. Started early days out in Colorado, but he put on a show down there in the desert.
He's really fun to watch. Really good route tree, can win inside and outside. He's got really solid hands, polished overall game. His cons, I guess, would say is just he's more technical than he's a playmaker. He doesn't like dominate the game physically. And he's not like super fast or a freak athlete by any means. My comp to him was Amari Cooper.
Okay.
That was it reminded me about Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper wasn't, this physical freak, but he was just really smart and he just relied on him being technical.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily he was the best at anything in particular, but he did most things really well. And that's kind of what I feel like you're getting to hear from this. He does have some high points in his game. I think we could be looking at I think Jordan Tyson could be a wide receiver 1, not only for his team, but in fantasy as well. I think he has that type of capability and that type of ceiling.
I view him as a fringe wide receiver 1. I could see him having some top 15 seasons, and again, you'll take that all day long. So
it's going to be crazy because these top 3 guys, I've seen all sorts of orders as far as where they're going to be going, who they're going to be going to. It seems pretty consensus that one of these wide receivers is going to go in the top 10. There's a handful of needy teams that need wide receiver. It's just where do they land? And of course, that's going to really push them over the edge of my rankings once I figure out that landing spot.
Yeah.
CD Lamb, I think, is one of my favorite comparisons. Another Cowboys receiver. I guess we'll count Amari as a Cowboys wide receiver, kind of all over the place there for his career. Yeah. But I like the CD Lamb comp as well. Just the explosiveness, the stuff you can get out of him, the stretch in the field. So Jordan Tyson right now, I think, is my wide receiver 1.
Yeah, he's mine as well.
Nice. What else you got for him?
Nothing really else. I mean, he's put on the highlight tape because it's always fun to watch these guys. His highlight tape is a lot of fun from Arizona State. I enjoy watching it, and obviously when you go to draft some of these guys, watch how they play. I mean, and he's fun to watch. He's got sure hands. That's all I'll leave it with.
Yeah, he was a great player out there. Let's go to our next one here. Look at the school. Yeah, it's just great wide receivers that are consistently coming out of the school over the last several years. Carnell Tate, wide receiver from Ohio State, 192, 6'2", 21.2 years old. I hate to compare him, not necessarily compare him to Emeka Egbuka as far as the style necessarily, but just how I felt about Emeka Egbuka last year in the draft process. Mm-hmm. There was kind of an argument about who's the best guy, the top guy, the highest ceiling. Emeka Egbuka felt like the safest play, and I don't want to put that on him because I feel like it's kind of a downgrade to call him that, but because I do think there's a ceiling here, but this one just feels the safest of the 3.
Yeah, I think he's going to go first over everybody. I think the Vegas has him that way, but there's a reason for it, man. He's an elite route runner. He's got really good hands. He's got high IQ, consistent production at Ohio State. I mean, it's really fun to watch. Honestly, I'm obviously Ohio State just always puts out elite wide receivers. The real only cons, I guess, he doesn't have the elite deep speed. And I guess it's really going to depend on separation versus the NFL level DBs. I'm really curious to see. I could see him struggling his first year and then kind of figuring it out a couple of years later on. 21 years old. Love that. He's young. I mean, I think he's slated to go to the Browns, and it kind of makes sense. They need somebody there next to Judy and Fannin. I just don't know what that will translate to his rookie year for production.
Yeah, this one's hard, especially with that first wide receiver. Do they go to the Browns? Do they go to the Giants? Do they go to the Chiefs? Because I think those are the 3 names you hear the most often as far as wide receiver in the first 10 picks. But Carnell Tate, I can see him. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for him to finish in the top 10, top 12, but I think you're looking at a really solid career wide receiver 2. A top 20 play, maybe a little lower than that from time to time, but the consistency is what I feel good about here with him.
I think a lot of these guys are going to be just like really solid wide receivers, but there's no Malik Neighbors. There's not this like, end all be all prospect. Like Carnell Tate's very good. He reminds me of Chris Olave. And again, you'll take Chris Olave for what he is right now. And so I just think that there's just next year's class, his running mate at Ohio State, Jeremiah Smith is the one we'll be talking about and oozing over.
Yeah, they're like he was still the number 2 on his offense. He's great, absolutely world talented. But yeah, Jeremiah Smith we've been talking about him since his freshman year. So Carnell Tate, I've seen comparisons of like a Calvin Ridley-esque somewhere right in there. I really like that one. But again, wide receiver 2, studly numbers each week. You maybe not get the highest of ceilings with him, but I think the floor is really high as well.
Yeah.
Nice. Let's go to our next one, the last one in our big 3. It's Mekhi Lemon coming out of USC. I mean, Amon-Ra came out
First
of USC.
Off, let's just say it. Like, so many fantasy names are going to come from him, and I'm so excited. I don't know what I'm going to brew with it. But I'm very excited for the name. Thank you, Mekhi Lemon.
Yeah, not that I hope that he busts, but just like the fact that his last name's Lemon, he gives us a huge open path there to talking about him if he just comes out here and Marvin Harrison's on us with all the hype. But 5'11", 192 coming out of USC, very Amon-Ra, St. Brown-esque as far as just the style. I hate to do it just because it's a USC team. You don't want to hit those comps too hard. But look, teams, schools, programs, they like certain types of guys. They go out there and get them, and this guy did it. If you don't know who we're talking about, if you haven't seen his plays, you probably have seen his video of him at the Combine with his little snake thing that he's doing, very Jungle Book-esque. But like, you can't knock him for that, right?
No, I mean the pros for him, like he's got excellent after the catch ability. He's quick and shifty. He's going to be a great slot receiver. I feel like good acceleration. He's just not a true alpha like wide receiver. I mean, he's obviously limited with his size, and he just needs a little more consistency. He reminded me more of Golden Tate. That's why I looked at him as.
Jaden Reed's one I've heard as well, which I kind of like that one as well.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
So we have this often where guys play a lot in the slot. This guy was 75% rated his routes out of the slot. We've seen the adjustment. It can happen. It's not that big of a deal for the most part. But the slot position's kind of disappearing right now as we're seeing these heavier tight end sets. As Colts fans, we've seen Josh Downs just disappear off the field because they're not using him outside of the slot. Yeah, makes me. We need to re-sign him, by the way, like ASAP before we get into a problem and we just have Alec Pierce in that room. Kidding. Back on track here. Mekhi Lemon, immensely talented. The guy's he's going out there, he's doing the dirty stuff, he's getting it done. I just if somebody's just infatuated with this guy and he does go to the Chiefs, who he's had a visit with, one of the top 30 visits, I think I'd rather trade out of this pick. And that's not a knock on him. I just think that his hype might take him higher than where he actually will be.
I think it will be a very interesting place if he goes to the Chiefs and let's say Carnell Tate goes to the Browns and Jordan Tyson ends up with, I'm trying to think of like a lower end team that's just not as sexy. Like I'm trying to think on the top of my head, like Titans, something like that. I can see a lot of people reaching for him over Carnell Tate and over Jordan Tyson just because he's tied to Mahomes forever. And this is a Sky Moore situation all over again.
What about Miami? Miami's also been talked about. Could they possibly take, somebody at 11 since they do have 2 first-round picks?
I would wait with him a little more just because I feel like the Dolphins will be the worst team in the NFL and it's just going to be ugly.
I hope the Jets. Oh man, Jets and Miami have to play twice. That's going to be 2 games.
I forget that. They'll split it. They'll do the handshake agreement of we'll split it.
And I'm pretty sure the Cardinals, the other third team that's supposed to be bad, I'm pretty sure they play the Jets as well. So Jets are in an awkward position as far as how they need to approach that. Baltimore at 14, I've heard talks about them potentially taking a first-round wide receiver again. It'd be 3 and 5 years.
Zay Flowers is good, so I take that back. Zay Flowers has been a good pick for them. I think the Ravens have yet to draft a true alpha dog one at receiver, and so I would be very hesitant too on that. And he's just not a big guy as well. Again, 5'11". That's just Zay Flowers. What, 6 feet, 5'11", maybe?
Yeah, I think he's closer to that
He's tiny
5
guy.
and 6. Yeah, he's not big.
Yeah,
He's not big.
yeah.
Anything else with Mackay?
No, I just the interview process always was very interesting with him.
Yeah, we grasp at whatever we can talk about when it comes to these players, so like
Yeah.
take it with a grain of salt. But it was one of the weirdest interviews I've ever seen there at the combine.
Okay.
Next up, all right, so we're pretty consensus top 3, whatever order you want to put them in. The next 3, 4, it kind of gets interesting, and let's go ahead and open up with your number 4 because I don't think this is the consensus number 4, which I think it's going to open up for a fun conversation, especially as we get right before and through the draft. But Chris Brazzell II, Tennessee, 22.5 years old, 6'4". That's what I'm talking about, baby. 198. Skinny fella, but like long nonetheless.
It's basically Rashid Shaheed, but taller. That's how I would describe it. Vertical threat, long speed, can stretch defenses out. Upside as a field stretcher. The problem is though his route tree he's still learning the game. His hands are a little inconsistent, and he just needs to be a little more polished in his game. His comp is Will Fuller, and I definitely see it just because if everyone remembers Will Fuller before the fallout, it was so much fun watching with Deshaun Watson, and that's what he reminds me of.
Yeah, that's kind of right where I'm feeling it's too. I don't know if this guy ever. I think he's going to be more of a fringe wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. But with those big play abilities. We've seen guys, George Pickens, Christian Watson, T. Higgins, they have those games where they can take over. They get a couple touchdowns, they'll give you those wide receiver 1 numbers, but it's not necessarily the volume that's going to be, it's not the reception. The Mike Evans career. He didn't get there necessarily on targets, on catches. It was big play abilities and the touchdowns, and I think that's how this guy's going to have to do it. So I'd love to see him go to the Giants, take him with your second pick.
Giants are probably out on Tennessee wide receivers just because they took Jalen Hyatt previously, and they just, I could just see him kind of being a little burnt from there.
I can see that. I guess I like the pairing, the idea of putting just him on the outside. You've got,
and Jackson Dart just throwing it deep.
Yeah, you got your option there, and then you got your option the short and immediate routes with the other guy. So
Malik Neighbors.
Malik Neighbors. He's been gone so long I can't even remember his name. But Chris Brazzell, big fella, long, lean. We've seen it work before, but it's going to be so team dependent.
Yeah.
Like QJ's a good comp of like what we could potentially get out of him.
QJ has evolved his game, so it's fine with that comp.
All right, next up, let's go to Denzel Boston, man. He has gone everywhere from like 3 to 6. I keep shuffling up like how I feel about this guy. And again, we got some big fellas in this year. I love this year's draft size. Denzel Boston coming out of Washington, 22.3 years old, 6'4", 212. Give me your Denzel Boston take here because you've got him at 5 right now, right?
Yeah. He's a big body receiver. He's elite in contested catch ability, strong hands. He'll be probably used a lot in the red zone, physical style of play. So he'll be on the field for running and stuff like that. A limited separation. He's, not the fastest. He might struggle at first versus NFL corners. He reminds me of Michael Pittman.
Okay.
And Michael Pittman's had a great year or great, career so far. Just got an extension right now. But again, I think he'll be on the field a lot just because he's also a good pass blocker. So I think he'll be on the field a lot more than you expect. I think he'll be a very fringe first-round wide receiver. I think he is the last guy to get off the board in the first round.
He feels like one of these wide receivers that's going to go in the late 20s, kind of the teams that are either taking the shots that were in the playoffs that need somebody, or a team
Dare I say Buffalo?
Do they spend a first-round pick on a wide receiver? Because their second-round pick's gone because they spent him on a wide receiver to get DJ Moore. Like, does Bean do it and just like, because I know he doesn't want to. He doesn't freaking want to.
I don't know what they're going to do.
Ego is.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. They need O-line, if I'm not mistaken, so they probably have some other needs, but I could just Keon didn't, obviously. He's just not worked out. I could see him being cut this offseason, to be honest with you.
Traded for a seventh to like the Raiders or something
Yeah,
like that. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, Denzel Boston, they've got Shakir there. They have DJ Moore, who rumor has it can still stretch the field. We'll find out about that come this preseason. But Denzel Boston would fit there well. But with them retaining, their OC as their new head coach, this team wants to run the ball, and I just don't want to see him go there.
No one wants to see anybody go somewhere it's all run heavy.
No. Will point out there, he didn't do much in his first 2 years, but he was a part of the Michael Penix years. He was there with Jalen Polk, Jalen McMillan, and Roma Dunze. So, granted, he was playing with NFL caliber wide receivers. One's not really in the league. The other one, I guess, Jalen McMillan. It was just injury is the only reason he didn't.
I think McMillan's gonna have a very good career. I think with Mike Evans leaving, it opens up with him, Godwin, and Igbuka. I think he's gonna be. That's someone I would be talking about in Dynasty to potentially go buy right now for cheap.
Shake the tree a little bit, see what's happening there. But yeah, if we get first round draft capital on Denzel Boston, very excited what we can get from him.
Damn. All
right, let's go to what seems to be the consensus number 4, KC Concepcion. I don't know. We're still figuring out how we're saying this. We just learned how to say Travis Etienne's name recently, and I don't think many of us are changing. But coming out of
Etienne,
yeah. Coming out of Texas A&M, 21.3 years old. He's 6 foot 196. This guy is like the people banging the table for him are making the point that he should be counted as in the big 3. He should be up there with those guys. He's got some knocks to his game. He definitely has some knocks to his game. I believe he led this group in drops this past year, or either that or he was second.
He was number 1.
Oh, he was number 1. Okay, so yeah, not something great you want to see. You've got things that play into that, but I worry about these wide receivers that get taken late in the first because it hasn't been pretty. Jordan Addison, I guess Zay Flowers, Justin Jefferson's come out of there, but we've had a lot of these wide receivers I feel like get pushed up a little bit as far as draft capital because they want that 5th-year option or just the teams that are drafting them to take them. Like your Xavier Legette's, your QJ's. I don't think he should have been a first. Keon Coleman, I guess technically was a second round. He was 2-1, right?
33. This 33rd overall pick, yeah.
But yeah, there's just a lot of these late first round wide receivers. I mean, Denzel Boston's going to fall in that. Brazel possibly could too. But he gives me those vibes that we could be getting more hype than we actually get production.
I left him off my board just because, like, when you lead in college drops, like that's your whole job is to catch the football. Like, I hate sounding like a boomer there, but like it's pretty tough. Like, let's just talk about the pros though. Like, he's dangerous when he gets the ball in his hands. That's the fun. Like, the crazy thing is when he gets the ball in his hands, he creates big plays. His route running is actually really, really good. He understands leverage to create the separation. He actually has really good IQ. But again, the cons are they're just so glaring. When you drop nearly 10% of your catches, that's really, really bad. Not the biggest guy, not the tallest guy, and he's not the fastest guy either. It's just he really relies on his IQ is what makes him better. I really hope he just gets the sticky stuff on the gloves and that's what fixes everything. But that doesn't cure everything.
And teams like to find him, like you kind of alluded to that, like they like to find him ways to get the ball in his hands. He carried the ball 70 times across those last 3 seasons, 431 yards on those carries. But we've seen players like that. We've seen players where like, all right, let me kind of make you a gadget player, and sometimes it's good for fantasy, and sometimes it's just annoying enough because you pick them up off the waiver wire. So it's, again, folks, you're going to hear this for, what do we got, 30 days left? It's team dependent. It's going to be totally team dependent, just usage, style, coaching.
He reminds me of Emmanuel Sanders.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not
Old
a bad
school
comp
name.
there.
Yeah. Not a bad comp.
I love
long
Sanders,
career.
Yeah. He was traded to the Broncos, right?
Yeah, he went from the Steelers to the Broncos, and I think he went to the 49ers after that. And then I forgot where he went after that.
Yeah, it kind of fizzled once Peyton left.
Kind of fizzled out there.
Yeah. All righty. Let's go to our next one here. Another controversial guy, just as far as like where he goes, how he's looked at. We've got Omar Cooper Jr. here coming out of Indiana.
He's my 6.
National champion, 22.3 years old, 6 foot 199. You've got him at 6, you say?
He's my 6.
this gives me like Rashi. You brought up Rashi Rice there with Brazel. This kid kind of gives me those vibes.
Yeah, for me, like he's a yak machine. I mean, he broke 27 tackles in 2025. He's got really good route running. His hands are really reliable. He's versatile. He knows how to block. So like again, one of the biggest things that a lot of these scouts have hammered to running backs is blocking, and he can do that. And so I think that's what's going to separate him from other guys, that he can block. Again, the cons are this class is a lot of just solid guys, nothing groundbreaking. They all have some like, cons. Like when you and I were talking about, Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison, they didn't really have a lot of cons. Like they were just, you were trying to nitpick. We can nitpick these guys because they actually have it. He has consistency issues. He was really limited in his role in Indiana. Indiana was just they were the definition of a college football team. They did everything just to win the football game. They didn't rely on one guy. They relied on a team effort. And so it could maybe, be in his benefit for other guys. They see something, but I view him. I think he's going to go in the second round. I really do.
Yeah, just as far as just an NFL use player, like he gives you a lot of that, a lot of behind the line of scrimmage stuff. Like you said, he's a great yak player. It's what they're going to be looking to use. But if he's not highlighted, if he's not getting a target share, in that 20% range, if he's close to the 10 to 15% range, it's going to be hard for us to really be happy with him. Like startup drafts, I would be surprised if we get more than, like I said it at 1.5 of these wide receivers being top 2, top 3 rounds in startup drafts next year or the year after. I just think we're getting a lot of really good wide receiver 2s coming in.
Yeah, that's how I view it. He really reminded me of like a I don't want to say poor man's Deebo Samuel, but like it's kind of similar to Deebo Samuel's game. And Deebo's great. Deebo finished as a wide receiver 2. What was it, 2021, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of the Cooper Kupp year, right?
Yeah. We need to figure out an actual poor man's Deebo Samuel to compare these guys to, because it's hard. You see comps of Deebo Samuel, and there's only one Deebo Samuel, folks. He's very one of a kind, but it's his style. It's his stylization of what he could be. I guess like that's the ceiling of this type of players is why that comp's there. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out like what is an actual poor man's Deebo Samuel, but that's not an insult. It'd still be a good comp for someone.
Yeah,
I don't know. All right, next guy. Let's go back to Alabama. It's the first Alabama one. Calm down, Brian. It's Jeremy Bernard, Alabama, 22.3 years old, 6'1", 206. Alabama's so hard to like assess. He is outside of my top 6. I've heard him going up there in people's like the second 3 guys. I don't. It's not there for me.
He's again, when you put on the tape, he's not the focal point. It's his running mate. It's Ryan Williams, obviously. He's kind of the guy that gets the attraction. But Jeremy Bernard actually was still very, very good. Again, yak ability. He's elite blocking. He's got I think he had the best cone time, the 3 cone time, 6.71 is what I'm reading here. So obviously it's good, change of direction ability. The cons, though, is that, again, a lot of these guys, they're not twitchy. They don't have the top end speed. He struggles against press coverage. I'm very curious, like how he ends up. He kind of reminds me of like really Josh Palmer. That's, I'm not really excited about drafting him. I think he'll go as like a day 3 pick.
Yeah, I think that's about what it is. We might get some plug and play ability in fantasy when the wide receiver above him gets knocked out and he gets to be played more as a wide receiver 2 than a 3 on somebody's team. But it's the manufactured touches. It's the quickness. Like that's where he excels as far as like measurables. His quickness, it's 96th percentile. It's great.
Yeah,
it's absolutely amazing. But you look at everything else and it's medium to above average. He doesn't do a lot great. It's just a bunch of things really good, and it's a lot of that like blood, sweat, and tears out there on the field blocking that teams are gonna love.
Yeah.
Next up, let's go back to Indiana. That's what we're looking at. This red and white. It's throwing me off on the graphics. This team's going to figure out other colors. We need to invent more colors. That's something we haven't done in a while. Figure out just a new part of the color wheel there. But yeah, Elijah Surratt, we got him coming out of Indiana. 6'3", yes. 210. How old is this guy? 22.8, so a little bit older. I heard he nicknamed himself Waffle House.
Yeah, I saw that.
He's
He's
always
Waffle
open.
House mentality because he's always open. It's love the size, 6'2", uses his frame effectively, really good route running, got good hands. The only thing though is his average depth of target was really within the short yardage, nothing over 20 yards. That was not in his wheelhouse. So like I don't know where he kind of lands in that. I'm thinking he's like a the fourth round pick. He again, all these guys are very limited in their speed. They're not like game breaking speed here.
Yeah, separation's a lackluster when it comes to this guy, and we talk about it a lot with the contested catch players. Well, why are you contested catching so much? Is it because you can't separate? Because in the NFL, it's a lot harder to separate, and if you can't do that, you're going to find yourself just being dry humped the entire game. They're just not going to let you get away.
There you go. His comparison to me was, I would say, like a poor man's Cortland Sutton. That's about what he reminds me of.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, Roman Dunze is one I've seen somewhere in there. Just the big-bodied fellow, but can he get it done? Can he adjust to the NFL? Next up, let's go Malachi Fields. Let's talk about him because, he's being talked about a lot. Look,
he's very, very tall.
Yes, tall. He's got some speed to him, and that's usually what happens this time of year. People are trying to plant flags on late players so that in 7 months they can retweet that tweet that they said, hey, I love this guy, and they can run the victory lap for the 2 weeks that he's still relevant. Not to say that this guy's not going to be that, but he falls within that category of you got to find something sexy about him. You got to find something that you lean into, and that's what you're going with Malachi Fields. You got 6'5", 218, 23.7. Again, love the frame, love the body, but it just feels like a Mac Hollins with shoes.
Yeah. Yeah, he is Mac Hollins. The pros for him, like I'll give him, he under 3% for drop rate. So really, really good hands. Contested catch ability. But again, what does that mean? Well, it's because he can't really separate. He uses his size to help him out there. He doesn't have the explosive top end speed. He actually is not the best route runner. He's not actually good with yak. Like that's why it's like I'm not really interested in these guys. Really, after Omar Cooper in this class, is I'm trying to trade as much Dynasty rounds 3 and 4 for next year's 3 and 4. Like I'll ship off some of those because I'm not really a big believer after like the top 6 for the wide receivers.
That's my biggest thing with why I don't like falling in love with the late wide receivers, because then inevitably, instead of trading away my seconds and my thirds that I've got, a plenty of, I end up drafting. I'm like, well, let me talk myself in. I took a lot of Pat Bryant. I took a lot of Jack Besh. These guys that had day 2 and day 3, or round 2 and round 3 draft capital, that I could find a way to talk myself into it. And then now what am I doing? I'm looking at them having to come out of my taxi squad, find a spot on my bench, and I'm like, I really don't want to drop the RB2 or an RB3 for a team just to keep on a wide receiver that might just hang on as a wide receiver 3-4 for a bit and then just fall into the nothingness. So that's what I'm trying to avoid here. Malachi Fields just feels like, because one of these guys inevitably hit second round. I think it's like a 20-30% hit rate in Dynasty. Yeah. Like, it's low, folks. Third round, it's less than 15%. So one of them's going to hit. It's fine, but I'm okay if I don't get it right by not stacking a bunch of these players. And Malachi Fields just feels like he's going to be a part of that.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Jacoby Lane. This is one of the players I'm talking about here. 200 pounds, 6'4", 21.7 years old, coming out of USC. He was there with Lemon. And honestly, watching him run the gauntlet drill and running a few of the drills at the combine, I'm like, all right, I could get behind it. Here's my day 3 player. And I'm like, no, shut that shit down. I don't want to fall in love with any of these day 3 players. But I like his shiftiness. I like the way he moves out there on the field. Definitely interesting. But what's your take on him?
Again, 6'4", that's, this typical prototype of what you want. He was a red zone threat. He had 12 touchdowns, I think, the season before. He's shown he runs a 4.47, 4.48 in the 40-yard dash time. So again, like, it's like one of those like athletic freaks. You're getting really like, oh man, there's something there. Maybe again, he had a high contested target rate. I mean, the fact that it was in the 34 percentile, it's just like, I don't know. He's not really open, so to speak. Struggles against press coverage, I guess, and not the greatest yak ability. So again, it's just one of those guys. He's gonna be a project pick. I feel like he's gonna go like a day 3. He's gonna be a project pick and hope he develops into something.
Yeah, it's the size, the frame, and you add to that the explosiveness. 97 and 91st percentile in the vertical and broad jump. It adds to your explosive score, and if you can put look, this was my build for a good portion of my life. 6'5", 200, 210 right in there. But I couldn't do with the things that he could do. You lose a lot of that when you get tall, folks. Once you start hitting that lanky range, it's hard to build up speed. So he has that rare explosiveness that you want to find with some of these wide receivers.
Running like a baby giraffe.
Look, that was my nickname for last 20 years. So yes, I look like a fucking baby giraffe. All right, next one I've got here. I had to. Look, if we're gonna fall in love with somebody late, come on, let's talk some Bryce Lance, man. Coming out of North Dakota State, 6'3", 204 pounds. This guy didn't even register a breakout score. If you're new to the breakout score, it has to do with like team metrics. What percentage did you take up of the team metrics? And he didn't do it soon enough because you're supposed to do it young. You're supposed to have a good breakout age, 18, 19, 20. Yeah. Well, he's old. He'll be 27 by the time we get into next season.
And he played 24. In D2, not even D1.
Yes. And unfortunately, one of his best comps is, again, another guy that played at the same freaking school. Like, if he's going to develop into anything in the NFL, it's going to be he develops into Christian Watson coming out of North Dakota State. So, like, that's what we're hoping for. Will it be? I think he has a better career than his brother.
Possibly. Like, obviously, like, we've seen his brother play, like, in an NFL game. He is fast. So, like, he is actually just like that. Like, the pros for him is, like, it's phenomenal. Like, he's in the 99 percentile in the RAS score. Like, I think he had like a 9.98 in the RAS. So like you're going to 4.34. He only had 5 drops in his last season. He averaged 21 yards per reception. It's like, again, when you look at the numbers, you're just like, holy shit, this is crazy. But then it's like, well, where did you really play? He'll be turning 25 at the start of his rookie season. So it's like, if you're drafting him, it's like, I'm going to just use him for his rookie contract, and that is it.
Which sometimes that's all you need because, that's by the time he'll be coming out of his prime. Or,
I mean, look, the Bills drafted their running back that was like 26 years old, and that's all they're going to do with him. And after that, it's whatever.
Yeah, then he's gone. Speed, size, stretch the field. I'm interested. If I'm going to be taking a day 3 flyer or a round 3 flyer, this might be one of them.
This is probably the one I'd be like, if rounds 3 or 4, and I'm like, I'll take a chance.
But if he gets any type of draft capital, I can see him sneaking into the second just because of the speculation we're going to have on a lot of these players. So, one of these best kept secrets is going to be all over the place here quickly. Just a few other wide receivers I'll throw out there. We got Chris Bell coming out of Louisville, 23, 6'2", 222. There's Zachariah Branch coming out of Georgia, 22, 5'9", 177. And then Ted Hurst coming out of Georgia State, 21, 6'4", 206. A lot of big receivers this year. A lot of big fellas. Is there anybody I didn't name or somebody else you want to give a shout out to?
No, I think we kind of ran through it. I think a lot of the guys we mentioned will probably be the more like anticipated guys that'll go in the first 2 days. And then we talked about like Bryce Lance and then a few of the other guys who'll probably be like day 3 picks that might just have like that intriguing factor to them just because it's like a round 4, round 5 aspect to it.
Yeah, nice. All right, let's go to tight end. And there are a couple of bells of the ball, and just like running back and quarterback, it disappears quickly. Let's talk about the guy that everybody knows, Kenyon Sadiq, coming out of Oregon, 6'3", 241. I think this guy had like one of the best combines you've ever seen. 4.39. At that size, like that is 100th percentile. His speed score, 100th percentile. Explosiveness, 100th percentile. Vertical, 99th percentile. Broad jump, 99th percentile. Bench press, 90th percentile. So like big, young, fast. Whew. Whew. Where does he go though? That's the big question.
I think his line right now is 16 and a half, the over under. So
God.
he's gonna be in the first round. He looks like a defensive end playing tight end, if we're being honest. Like, he's a big dude, but he's just not a dominant inline blocker. That's like because his pros are amazing. His cons are that he's just kind of an undersized for traditional tight end. He's still trying to develop his game into a true tight end one. He's going to be fascinating wherever he goes. I don't know. In Dynasty, I think he's my 106, 105. I'm trying to remember on the top of my head, but I think he's wherever he goes is going to be very infatuating. He reminds me of David Njoku.
Okay, I was actually going to go. My two comps were going to be in that same class. The pros are Evan Ingram. The cons are OJ Howard.
That's a con for sure. Holy crap! That's
all of them first round picks in the same draft class, though, which was the crazy thing. I thought all three of them were going to be just. No,
he went to the Bucks, right, and then fizzled out.
Bucks and then fizzled out. He tore his Achilles. I believe he tore his Achilles his third year. And then just never came back from it because Achilles were death sentences 8 years ago, 5 years ago.
There was not modern medicine in the early 2000s. What are we talking about?
Right. But yeah, it's interesting too. You look at his numbers on the field this past year, it was just him. Like, he was the guy as far as the tight ends go. They weren't great. Like, this wasn't a dominant performance. It's wild. Like, you see what Harold Fannin did a couple of years ago with Bowling Green, just absolutely dominant, despite him not being like
the fastest.
Yeah, he's not the great when you look at him on paper, like Kenyon Sadiq, and yet he did all of what he did. And then you've got the flip side. Kenyon Sadiq is blown away on paper. But then when it comes to the stats, it's like, can you put this all together? If he goes to Kansas City at 9, they need their heir to Travis Kelce. How, like, does he compete for like 104-ish for you, 105-ish in tight end premiums?
Nah, people will rank him like 103 if he goes to Kansas City. Like, that's just the crazy thing for it. For me, like, I'm a little worried for him, like, because if he came in last year's draft class, he would have been behind Fannin. It would have been Loveland, it would have been Warren, it would have maybe he goes ahead of Fannin, but like,
I think he would have gone ahead of Fannin. Look at the body, man. Look at the body, and like Harold Fannin kind of fell a little bit too. Just, I don't know. It's hard to knock Harold Fannin, but I just feel like the hype wasn't there for him fully.
No, he actually had a piss poor pro day too.
Yeah,
or the combine. Great. Sorry.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't think I definitely wouldn't have him above like where we had Warren and Loveland last year. I don't quite think he gets that draft capital. 9 to Kansas City's fun. Baltimore at 14. They let both their tight end 2 and 3 go. Mark Andrews getting old. I don't know.
They need a lot of things over there in Baltimore.
This is true. Minnesota at 18 would be interesting to seeing, just with Hawkinson where his future is going. Detroit, they don't need one. Carolina, if he falls to 19 to Carolina, that one would be
Carolina. I could see kind of being interested in him. Him and Tet, a lot of he fits the mold. He's tall. Actually, he'd be the shortest one there, I think, right? Because Xavier Leggette's taller.
I think he's 6'3" or 6'4".
And Jalen Coker's 6'5".
Yeah, that one would be interesting. Pittsburgh, we don't have to worry about Arthur Smith taking him, so probably won't go there. Philadelphia. If he falls to 23 and goes to Philadelphia, that would be a sight to see, man.
Yeah, everyone would be very upset with Howie. Like, it's Howie's fault that he fell that far.
Yeah. Either way, it's all going to be about landing spot and how he adjusts to. I could see this guy being a year 3. Maybe it's year 3 when we finally get excited. Kind of like Kyle Pitts, where we get overhyped with enamored with what he can do, and it takes a couple of years before you're actually like cashing in on that. So maybe we're buying him next offseason or the offseason after that, way cheaper than what you would get him for in this draft.
If he goes to the Chiefs, where does he rank for you in redraft rankings?
He'd be in the teens, probably somewhere like 12 to 20 in 2026. Yeah. Travis Kelce's playing.
Yes, that's true.
They're not going to let him lap Travis Kelce. But I think 2027, it would be hard not to have him in the top 8, top 10.
Very true.
Gross. All right. Let's go to this is your tight end one, correct?
Yes, I like Eli Stowers. I just think he's gonna have more of an effect right off the rip. He's a former quarterback, so he's got high football IQ. He's a good athlete. He's versatile, can create mismatches. He's the cons for him again. Like he needs to work on blocking. He's not as explosive as Sadiq, and he's still kind of raw at the tight end era. But like for me, like I just think he's a lot more. He's a lot more pro ready, if that makes sense.
Yeah, despite only being 21 years old, coming out of Vanderbilt, 6'4", 239, 40 time, 4.51, but that's still 96th percentile. Like he went out there and he did a great job of the combine, 100th percentile in vertical and broad jump. Dude's got some legs on him. So, I mean, it tush pushability possibly if he falls down in there to Philadelphia.
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, I wouldn't knock anybody for having him as the tight end one. Kenyon Sadiq, he's made out of marble. Like he's just been carved by So it's fun to put him at one, but I could see Stowers getting a better location, and we being more into Stowers in 2026 than we are Sadiq.
I mean, his like, I guess I would say like where he is like comparison wise, I'd say it's similar to Mike Gesicki, and I just think Mike Gesicki was just kind of like used wrong, so to speak, for the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, the Bengals kind of utilize him, but like I think he could be like a Mike Gesicki.
Yeah, I think Mike Gesicki in the career that we should have gotten from Gesicki, because between injuries and just Gesicki being in the wrong place, the wrong team, I think we could have gotten so much more out of him. He sat on some bad contracts behind some bad players. So I think Stowers could give us what Gesicki should have given us in fantasy. Love the comp. I think he could be top 8 guy, like one of those stud starters that we're talking about in the next couple of seasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alrighty, moving on to tight end 3, and this is where, like, for me, we're punting the position at this point. Max Clare, I like him. I guess not a full punt on him, but 22.7 years old, 6'4", 246, coming out of the Ohio State. Don't even like Ohio State. I don't know why I gave him that. Cut that.
Yeah,
too much.
He's a smooth route runner. He's a natural receiver. Again, he played at Ohio State, so it made his life a lot easier. So I'm very curious where that ends up being for him in the pros.
Yeah.
His cons, again, he's more of a receiver than a true tight end, so he's going to be on more passing game. It needs to develop physically. He's not there yet. He kind of reminds me of Dalton Kincaid.
That's about the lifespan I see of him as a player. I think he's just like, to call him a streaming tight end, I think would be like the disrespectful side. Like he may end up being ranked top 12-ish as one of those tight ends, but won't be a tight end that you want to draft in fantasy football. We say all the time, there's usually like 8-ish guys we're willing to draft, and after that, you're just streaming the position. And I think that's where he's going to fall. He's probably going to have some good weeks there, but I don't ever see him being consistent week in and week starter for your fantasy team.
No, this is not after Stowers. I think everyone considers this guy the third. It's just, none of these guys I feel are going to be fantasy relevant that you're going to be really excited about having.
Yeah, especially this one. Looking at the raw numbers. Michael Trigg out of Baylor, 6'4", 240, 23.8 years old. Watching some of this, I'm like, all right, I get behind this guy. Is this going to be my late round tight end that I'm going to excited? Nah. After watching him, he gives me Jay Cutler vibes. Just Kyler Murray vibes. I don't give, just I'm here. I got the size. Things come easy to me, but like I don't think he gives a shit.
Yeah, see, he's not even like I think he's like 6 or 7 for me. Like my 4 and 5 are Jack Endress and Joe Ryer. So like for me, like this tight end class, like you could throw names and throw it on the wall and be like, yeah, sure, he's 4, he's 5, he's 6. Like it's this class for tight end, just like we talked about for quarterback, like Mendoza, and then maybe why am I drawing a blank on his name? The other quarterback from Alabama, Ty Simpson. Like those two, and after that, it's just sure you have a case to be made for 3, 4, 5 through 10. It's just this is a tough class for tight ends after that.
Yeah, like you kind of mentioned, Jack Endress is somebody that I had a buddy kind of point him out to me recently, so I'm interested to look a little bit more into him. He's in there. We got a graphic here for Justin coming out of North Carolina State, 21.7, 6'4", 240. But all of these guys have high side. Is something that looks good on their resume. But at the end of the day, they're going to be depth tight end pieces, especially with us running so much 12 and 13 personnel.
Yeah, a lot of these guys are like vertical threat guys. They're not true pass blocking tight ends. So again, it kind of limits their role to what they can be on the field at all times.
I mean, look at Jake Ferguson last year. He was a player both you and I, we were very interested in. We liked second day, round 2. I believe it was round 2 draft capital. And team that runs a lot of 12 and 13 personnel. Look at it now. They just re-signed Higbee, so Higbee's coming out there. They still have Davis Allen. Colby Parkinson's on the team. Like, talent could be there. A potential breakout could be on these teams, and they might just never find it because they are a role.
They're just a body.
Tight end position, yeah. So, I love taking a shot, especially in tight end premiums in Dynasty on some of these players. But at the end of the day, folks, don't get enamored with it. Let me pick up 8 third-round picks, and I'll get the guy that's supposed to blow up in the third round. Yeah, but
one of them's going to be something.
Yeah, at what cost? How many role veteran players did you trade away to get those third-round picks when you could have just, like, bam, all of a sudden you've got a wide receiver 3 that you need to plug in your team there in December because everybody's freaking hurt.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. Nice. What else you got for this last little bit of rookies that we have?
Again, the draft is always fun. It's exciting. It's kind of like Christmas for you and I, just 'cause it's like some new homes, new faces. We get to be excited for fantasy because it's just one step closer. For dynasty purposes, if you like a guy, draft him. Like, who cares? Call your shot. Like, if you like, I'd rather like some of these guys that you want to go for, like, root for him. Like, by all means, like you get to call your shot. This is your chance to be a mini GM.
Yep, because nothing's worse than like, wow. I called that. I was going to be all in on that player, and then it's 2 years down the road, and you were having to pay out. Drake London was one of those guys. Love Drake London. And I just kept stalling out on what I was willing to pay for him until all of a sudden I had to pay out so much more to get him from year 3 to year 4 because at this point I can't let him go. He's going to sign his extension. He's going to be untouchable, and then you're kicking yourself for how much you have to pay. So if you have conviction on a player, you want to go make him your guy, absolutely go do it. Now, understand how portfolios work, and you want to go 100% if you're in 20 dynasty leagues, but, understand how that works, because you don't want to get stuck with 18 Breece Halls and not knowing what to do with them.
Who's your most owned player in Dynasty, if you had to guess?
Probably Jalen Waddle.
It's not a bad team to own.
It's not, and that's the hard thing. It's been one of those, like, I tell people when they try to trade for him from me, I'm like, I hold him a bit higher than you probably do. So I'm willing to trade him, but you're not going to like the price. And that's kind of where him and Breece Hall are probably my 2 highest owned players, and it's been rough trying to get consistency with those 2.
I kept taking Tyler Warren. I have so much Tyler Warren stock. Like, it's absurd. He kept falling in once I saw him not like in a lot of leagues, he made it like past the 112. I was like, oh, dude, what do you want for 201? What do you want for this shit?
I dropped the ball. I had so many 205s to 208, so I've got tons of Jackson Dart. Absolutely a ridiculous amount of Jackson Dart from last year because that's where I was drafting, and I had
Tyler Shuck. I had a ton of Tyler Shuck, which actually works out for my advantage now, but it was just like, it was like third round. I was like, all right, it's the second round pick. So
I don't think I have any Loveland or I've got lots of FFAN because I was willing to take the shot in the third round with him all over the place.
I have one Loveland in my mini dynasty leagues.
I can get either one, and I'm kicking myself because both of those guys, I think, in a lot of my leagues, they fell from like 201 to 203, and it's like, damn, I was getting like, oh, that's too much. I'm not paying that price. Dumbass, look at me,
bunch of idiots.
But that's why we listen to the show, folks, and that's why you listen as well. If you're looking for more of us, it's at @too_much_Brian for me. It's at @too_much_BMulk over there. We're Instagram, Twitter, all that fun stuff. Check out the episode, look for something, like, subscribe, leave us a message there, and we are giving out JJ's draft guide, which gets updated often and then after the draft as well. So it's very useful for the next few weeks. Make sure you're doing that if you're looking for that. We'll see y'all next time.
Peace.